Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is June 22nd, 2023 on the ancient moon calendar, 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity, and according to the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this Holy Congress. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan Universal Court Action. We are the sovereign living justices and ego sum, Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is like Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminuto nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capite et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves. Our fortunes as well are vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state from Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We're the ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Earthwide Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural divine, sovereign ancient Article 3, living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and the titled beneficiaries for this cause for action and for all causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We have issued a universal creditor's affidavit for possession, liquidation, and custody over all land, all resources, both natural and national, which are one and the same, all commerce, and all other property. We, the one true God nation, are not at war, and we will never be at war. And we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original, sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. And again, we are not at war. The principles that we share are not our opinion. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land long established in sovereign order. Erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate every day is what our ancient ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth. For this we are grateful. So the first thing that we want to place on the record before you, before this sovereign holy Congress, is some words. So let me share my screen so that we can, just one moment. Indeed. Okay. Just one moment. Let me. Okay. So some of the words that we want to bring forth to you today are, one of the words is birth. We use the word birth quite a bit, but this is from Black's Law Dictionary regarding the word birth. This word, it is going to absolutely just further settle everything that has to do with those that are of the bloodline and birthright. And again, we're not separating our estate. Our estate is everything and everyone. But we are making the distinction that gives us the authority through our bloodline and our birthright. What is a birthright? Well, the word birth on the screen, it says, and again, whenever we're looking at Black's Law Dictionary or any dictionary, we have the authority to properly edit what is being stated because we know that it was written. The things that we've been seeing from the past era were written by those that are not competent to speak to sovereignty and sovereigns. So they enacted sovereignty in the last era. But it is up to us always to state what is applicable to us and to our nation. So it says here, the act of being born or wholly brought into separate existence. First and foremost, we were never separate from our ancient ancestors. We are our ancestors' return. That is the first thing. The second thing is this is not an act for us. We are who we are. We don't have to act like heirs because we are the heirs. We don't have to act like a Congress because we are the only Congress. And when I say we, I mean all Moors at Earth are the only Congress. There are no others. A separate existence has everything to do with where we came from. See, this is proof that there is something outside of this dimension. If they're saying a separate existence from what or whom? Let me answer that question. Mother. A separate existence from mother. And that can never happen with us. It doesn't happen. It's impossible. So, with that being stated, let me go ahead. I do want to put the meeting in lecture mode. In group mode is what I meant, so that we can discuss the things that are placed on the table. Islam. Justice Ronnie, are you able to? Justice Ronnie. Indeed. Thank you, Justice Tonis. We know you're here. And listen, all energies know you're here too. All energies that are subject to you know that you are here. Indeed. No worries. Your spirit is always with us. Always. Justice Ronnie, are you able to unmute?
How come so many sick Moors?
Let me just make sure that Justice Ronnie can unmute.
Yes, it's unmuted.
Yes. Okay. Great. Now, so is it solved now, Justice Ronnie?
I don't know. This is the first time I got in since, so I've been trying it, but it just got in this time when you unmuted. So.
You know what? I think it has to do with your word. Your word.
Okay.
Your word the unmute. So it's not. Because I wasn't doing anything to make it do that, but no. Indeed. Indeed.
When you unmuted, everyone else unmuted. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I hitting *6, *6, *6? And it wasn't working, so.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, I'll figure it out.
Hey,
okay.
Ronnie, why would you have a vision deficit if you're a Moor?
It's the word of the Lord, Justice Ronnie.
Okay. No problem. Islam.
Indeed. Islam. Let's look. I looked up the word blood. And it was very interesting to just look at. So the subjects did their best when they were rewriting, because see, they rewrote. They called themselves restating the original of definitions, because again, we're the original definitions. We're the Phoenicians. We stated it first, and then they said, the Moors are going to sleep, so let's write a dictionary and restate it and write ourselves in. Okay, hey, it happened. We're awake now. So, blood, kindred. Now look at this word right here, consanguinity. See, the real word is sanguinity. That's the real word. The real word is sanguinity. Sanguinity is the blood right. The right of blood, for blood, in terms of us being the heirs by bloodline and birthright. But they would do things like put the word con in front of it so that the word itself, the word spoke against itself in terms of us. And so when we rewrite dictionaries, we would take con off and just put sanguinity, ancient sanguinity. It says family relationship, and we know family means servants, and we're not servants, so we know that that's not quite right, but we would fix it and tailor it. Relation by descent from a common ancestor. And the word common there, anytime you see the word common as written in the last era, it's going to be talking about the common folk. And we're not saying that we're better than anyone else. What we are saying is that we are the heirs by bloodline and birthright, and those are the facts. We're not here to debate that. It just is what it is. And then here in the smaller writing, it says a person. I don't know why they wouldn't say a human. I do know why they wouldn't say a human. I know why. I also know why they wouldn't say the people. We know why they wouldn't use those words. So it says here, a person may be said to be of the blood of another who has any, however small a portion of the blood derived from a common ancestor. So it might be this way and it might not be this way. That's what the word may is about. Be said to be of the blood, and whenever they say of means without. Now, it says here further down, thus including half blood as well as whole blood. And then it says here, all persons. Just a moment. Were you going to say something, Empress Danielle?
I was, because you said of means without.
It means without when they write it, not when we write it, but when they write it.
That's funny, because they put like United States of America.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for pointing that out, Empress, because think about the Constitution. They put the Constitution of the United States. That means without the real United States. You know, so there was word play. But when we say something to the heirs, when we say something to each other and we use the word of, it means whatever we say that it means. or whatever we intend for it to mean. It says here, and this is the part, and again, whenever you're dealing with an unabridged dictionary, I apologize, an unabridged dictionary, they put the most recent change to the definition first, and the last part of the definition will always be the oldest, or they'll say that it's obsolete or archaic or something of that nature. It says here, all persons are of the blood of an ancestor who may, in the absence of other and nearer heirs, take by descent from that ancestor. Let's read that twice more. All persons are of the blood of an ancestor who may, in the absence of other and nearer heirs, take by descent from that ancestor. So the nearer heirs, or other heirs, meaning the only heirs, must be absent in order for a Fifth Amendment taking to happen, to be enacted. Now, when the heirs, who are the heirs, are present on the land, and we're right here standing, then no other persons may take by descent and claim this came from an ancestor, common or not. What are we doing here? We are bringing peace to the land about everything that has to do with us. Everything. Our land is peaceful. It's going to remain peaceful. We will never be at war. Why is that? Because there's nobody on our land that's a warmonger. The fake land, if you claim that land, then you'll constantly be at war, because you'll be thinking that Babylonians can babble at you and say things to you, and those things have meaning when they don't. They don't have meaning. They mean nothing. So picture this when we say what we say and when we state what we state. When in the beginning, let's just say that, in the beginning, as we were creating, as God was creating, God created the earth, and there was no one here on the earth. There was no one, supposedly. Let me say this. There was no one but God and gods. Let's make that clear. There was no one on the earth but the gods. And we said, let us go down and make man in our image and after our likeness. So that's where we are right now, is the land. There's no warmongers on this land, and I'm speaking from a place that some may not be able to see yet. Just picture it being 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 2 years from now for you, if that's the timeline that you need in order to know that there's no war on our land. Our blood has been here since time immemorial. There never was a time when we were not. So when the Holy Quran, chapter 1, says that there never was a time when man was not, that's the ancient man that was not. There never was a time when ancient man was not. And then in the Biblios, at chapter 1 of the Biblios, the very beginning of the Biblios, we said, let us go down and make man in our image and after our likeness. We were talking about us coming here. We always were, but we said we'll come here. And again, we were not absent. Even in our sleep, we were not absent. but we've always been here. So when you talk about bloodline, you automatically have to talk about ascendants. See, we're ascendants of our ancestors. And those who say descendants, they're not wrong. We have chosen to look at it for what it really is. This is the grand rising. So we're the ascendants of our ancestors. So when you're talking about the very definition of blood, automatically inheritance, taking, giving, receiving, claiming, all of that comes into the definition automatically. The first thing they're talking about here is who gets what. Everything already belongs to us, so that's not a fight. It's not a fight. This is not a fight. It is us knowing how to operate. So then I looked up Black Acts, the Black Act. It says here, the Statute 9 GOIC 22, so called because it was occasioned by the outrages committed by persons with their faces blacked or otherwise disguised, who, appearing in Epping Forest near Waltham in Essex, and that's just ancient land here, and destroyed the deer there and committed other offenses. In other words, they began to do things that have to do with animal husbandry. Committed other offenses, animal husbandry. That's why they have to bring in the animal and then say committed other offenses, because it's animal husbandry. So with their faces blacked or otherwise disguised, what does that look like? That looks like, in the last era, us answering to a name that is disguised as us, but it's not us, and we're answering to it. So when foreign black energy starts talking about calling names and saying Pauline this and Pauline that, or whomever else, if I answered to that, then I would be disguised and committing crimes, or not a crime, offenses. It's offensive. Because why would we go that low? Why would we go that low instead of creating our own, all caps, our own in capitis diminutio minima, our own in capitis diminutio nolo, all of that. Creating our own and using our own and not allowing anyone else, no matter how much it sounds like an idem sonans. And we talked about idem sonans. It's a term. It's a Latin term, meaning it sounds the same. But they're not talking to us. None of the things that we see. It says here, and let's talk about their paper. Let's look at the paper. Black Acts, old Scotch statutes, not laws, but statutes, passed in the reigns of the Stuarts and down to the year 1586 or 1587. And you could look back in history and see what was happening then. Because, see, now you're getting into dum diversa and where there's diversity in the language, the forked tongue, where the tongue seems like it's saying the same thing, but it's not saying the same thing because the meaning is different. So-called because printed in black letter. Black Acts printed in black letter. And yes, we're reading black letter here. That's why we have to change it. And that's why we change it. Black Acts, old Scottish statutes, passed in the reigns of the Stuarts and down to the year 1586 or 1587. And we can go back and look at what happened then. There were papal bulls coming out at that time. printed in black letter. That's part of the Black Acts. Are we blacks? No, we're not blacks. We're Moors. And just think about those two words and what they mean. A Moor connects anything that's at sea to the land. Anything that's on the water to the land. Safely securing it to the land. But we can see what black means here, printed in black letter. Those that send things, those foreign energies that send war rants and eviction notices and things of that nature, send them, they're always printed in black letter. You've never seen one that wasn't printed in black letter. And that's why we do what we do. We speak from our own proper status as the Lord's, the God's, the Saviors, because no one is coming to save us. We saved ourselves. In the Biblios, and this is something that, I thought about this week when I was listening to some of the videos and things that we use to study. Yeshua was told to come down off the cross if he be the Son of God. Who had the authority to free us? We came off the cross ourselves. The cross, what is the cross? It's the crossing, in other words, the switch up, pretending to be the dead when we're really the living, and then the dead pretending to be alive when they're really dead. That's the cross. And again, we're not mad at anyone. We must state the facts. So let's look at black rents in Old English law. Rents reserved in work, grain, provisions, or baser money than silver, in contradistinction to those which are reserved in white money or silver, which were termed white rents. Redditus albi, white rents. The word red is there. And albi or albino, the word albino comes from the word albi. Albi means white. Al is a title for nobility. Is it clear that we are white? Yes, we know that we are. Islam? Islam. So we wanted to bring forth some definitions and things. Are there any questions or comments about those definitions? Any wisdom from this? There's a question in the chat. Empress Danielle says, where is all this coming from? Who in the beginning wrote this? So those definitions are from Black's Law Dictionary, but it is Black's Law Dictionary is a corrupt dictionary. We use it, we look at it, but we filter the definitions through our sovereign filters. And then we edit them according to our will. So that's where those definitions were coming from. Black's Law 4th edition online, actually. So we do go back to older dictionaries. And we look, thank you for asking that, Empress Danielle, that's important. We go back to older dictionaries and we look at the definitions. And then we say, okay, where has this been corrupted? Because see, all of this right now, Moors, is just it's almost like taking a test at school where the teacher will give you would give a word and a definition, and you have to correct it and make sure that it's, and you correct it according to what you know. That's what Black's Law Dictionary and all the dictionaries, every dictionary out there is that, where we correct everything. We restate everything. So that to me is, that's a great question, and I'm glad that you asked, Empress. So I wanted to, because again, we use the words birthright and we use bloodline, and we talk about that all the time. We need to really look and know what it is that we're saying, what we're stating. Know that everything that has to do with us and everything that has to do with earth and resources and wealth and all of that comes from us. It comes from us, the ancient people. That was the big secret, the last era. That was the big secret. It came from us. So, and because, it was our bloodline and our birthright. That was the part that was, and it was in the names that last era. They were saying, oh, they're blacks, or we're black and we're proud and all of that, and we're African Americans and we stick together and all of that. That was an enactment from last era that we're just correcting the record. We're not condemning anyone, because there are still sleeping Moors out there who think that that's who they are, and they're very proud, and they come alongside of each other and come together because the spirit of unity is in our blood and it's activated, and they call themselves that. Well, we're not going to denigrate them for that. We'll just state who we are, and when asked, we will state our truth. That we're not Negro, black, colored, and African American. Never were. Yes, indeed. New time and new day, Justice Howard. Indeed. And Empress Danielle, if you have any other questions like that, put them in the chat, because that will help assist us in assisting those who are hearing what we're stating.
Like for sure, like I am third generation North American.
Go ahead. Can you speak up a little louder, Empress?
I'm third generation. So I'm equally as new to this. However, it's just kind of reinforced in my heritage. So that's why I ask questions. I just don't exactly know what is going on, because I know that people around me know exactly who I am, due to my ancestors, but at the same time I don't know why.
Yeah.
Sounds like she's in a vehicle.
She's going in and out, but I could hear what she was stating. What she was stating was that she's absorbing information about who she is and her heritage. That's the word she used, heritage. So again, and that's why those words are so important. Bloodline, birthright, black. Those words they're important, that we know why we say we're not black. Because people will say, well, what, are you ashamed of being black? I'm not ashamed of being black, because I'm not black. And then you point them to a dictionary, and I'll say this about that, because I have some in my clan that, they don't quite understand, not quite when we use certain words. And when we even point them to a dictionary, they won't want to look at the dictionary. And I say, well, you asked. I thought I would just show you where it came from. And they'll say, cut to the chase. I just want to know what you're talking about. And I'm like, the only way you'll know is to look at the dictionary. So, you know, some still have that where they don't really want to read. Okay, that's fine, but we're going to continue doing what we're doing because we can read, and we'll read for you until you can. And we're not even going to argue. We're going to just keep going. So with that being stated, yesterday was the summer solstice. Oh my word. It was the most beautiful day and night. I sent out some of the photos that I took of our Islamic crescent moon and Venus right near each other in the sky. It was absolutely beautiful. The sky was so clear and beautiful here for the summer solstice, and yesterday was the first day of Tammuz. Now, matriarchs, Tammuz is all about you. It's all about you. Tammuz is the true Christ matriarch God month. It's like it is from ancient times said to be the return of the Christ month. And every first Tammuz, people would gather around summer solstice time and start looking for mother. And this is the crazy part about that I just love the way our ancestors put everything together for us. They Father's Day was put there right before Tammuz, right before summer solstice, because they are our fathers, our consorts are the sun, and so Father's Day came right around summer solstice time. But Father's Day is, of course, we celebrate Father's Day, Patriarch's Day. We call it Patriarch's Day or Father's Day or Son's Day. You can call it whatever you want to call it. We celebrate. They put that there, and really we put it there from ancient times. And then we said, okay, we celebrated our sons and our consorts and our patriarchs and our men. And now Tammuz, the first of Tammuz, it's again, mother has returned. The matriarch has returned. And so Tammuz is a beautiful month. It is the month of fertility. Fertility God who powers new life in nature. It is for the fertility God who powers new life in nature. Tammuz is said to be the flawless one. In the Biblios, they say without spot or wrinkle or blemish or any such thing. This is the fourth month on our ancient calendar. And then you can, Tammuz, this is something that I've been seeing. All of the ancient months, all of the ancient gods, of course, they are our ancestors. And we are our ancestors returned. All of them are mentioned in the Biblios. Osiris is mentioned in the Biblios. All of them are mentioned in the Bible. And that is why we were not to throw the Bible away, but look at it and then restate it. They were calling the subject previously in doing business as Donald Trump, they were calling him Cyrus. Cyrus is a hypothecation of Osiris, ancient Osiris. So that is the case with all of the words and the language. And that's why words and language are so important. And that's why we keep our eyes peeled on them. So Wednesday, June 21st, was the summer solstice, which was yesterday. And I do want to show you really quickly. Let's see. What it looked like here briefly. And I sent these out to some of the Moors who that I could connect with on. But this here, let me share this. Share my screen here. Just a moment. The meeting is not paused. Okay. This is what sunset looked like yesterday. So our Islamic moon is right over here in the corner. So let me just show you briefly, because again, the cosmos is pointing to us. It's pointing to us, and we know this happens every month. We know that. But I just wanted to point out to you, this is what everything looked like yesterday. These are photos that I took of the summer solstice, because that is a very powerful day in terms of the return of the heirs to the land. It's just another announcement that Mother is with us. This is Venus here in the sky. Mother is with us as we move forward. And that's Mother's way of saying, keep going, we're with you. We're with you, because we are our mothers, and our great ancestors returned. And so they speak from within us and say, we're with you, we're with you. And then they have the cosmos to repeat that as well. So with that being stated, just one moment. The official start of summer, as the northern hemisphere angles herself at the point in her orbit closest to the sun. So yesterday, that's what summer solstice is about. And for us, it literally is saying that we are today more unified with our sons than we have been in a very long time. The unity among the Moors between the matriarchs and the patriarchs is on nuclear high, super high. We are connected. We have returned to one another. We've returned to one another, because there was, in the previous era, there was an enactment of a turning away from each other. And when I say turning away, there was between the matriarchs and patriarchs, the last era in our sleep bred an unnatural competition between us. There's nothing wrong with competition as long as as long as it is a natural competition that makes both parties better. There was energies between us in the last era that are being slowly but surely, and I'm saying slowly, but it's really quickly, falling away, absolutely falling away. And for that, we're so grateful. And so there are other cosmological celestial celebration days, and this is written in ancient English for those who are looking at the spelling. This ancient English is our national language that we're so grateful for. Each one of us has ancient English already woven into our cellular makeup. So ancient English is just spell it the way you're led to spell it. And then if you've written a whole paragraph and you spell just according to what your spirit says, when you look back at that paragraph, it's actually going to look very similar to an ancient language that you spoke. For us, ours looks a lot like French because of the doubling of the letters and things. Ours looks a lot like French, but some Moors, theirs looks a lot like Spanish. Some Moors, theirs looks a lot like Greek or whatever other languages, ancient Roman, because those letters are Roman letters. So we all have ancient English within us. And we can all read and understand each other's ancient English. So Morse, whose ancient English I've never seen before, I can read it fluently. That changes the jurisdiction of the writing. Okay, now we always write in our own sovereign ancient jurisdiction, but for the new Morse coming in, you want to write your affidavits on Morse government letterhead. You want to use ancient, and not want to. It is suggested that you use ancient English on your affidavits that you write on Morse government letterhead, and then use common English on your nationalized corporate documents, because that's how we, that's how we express things. With that being stated, we want to bring to your attention the celestial celebration days. We've got quite a bit of celebrating to do. Summer solstice is June 21st, which was yesterday. And then we have the full moon on July 3rd. These days are days that are important when it comes to sending out affidavits, doing specific demonstrations, doing your rituals. These days are very powerful days to do that. That doesn't mean wait until these days to do your demonstrations. We demonstrate all day, every day, because that's how we live. But when you plan things specifically, because see, Allah is the best of all planners. We are Allah in the flesh. And so when you plan your demonstrations ahead of time, you can look at these days and yes, indeed. And so when you in the chat, Empress Danielle put something in the chat we affirm that. July 3rd, full moon, is the day before July 4th. And interestingly enough, when we were listening to our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey talk about July the 4th, he stated that that their calendar was off a little bit, and that the things that happened with us was around July 3rd, July 2nd, somewhere around there in that area. But again, every day is our day to demonstrate who we are. July 17th, the new moon. Now, August, which is my solar return month, by the way, there are 2 super moons in that one month this year, which is amazing for us because I believe last year it was October that had 2 super moons. Don't quote me on that, but I know in the last couple of years October had 2, and this year it is August. There's a super moon on August 1st to begin the month, and then there's a super moon on August 30th to end the month of August. So it's a very powerful month for us. That whole entire month is a very powerful month for our, again, all months are. August 16th is the new moon. September 14th is the new moon. The 29th, again, and you can look at these dates, and we noted them all the way through our new year, which is March 21st. Okay, and then on March 25th, right after our new year, there is a midnight supermoon. And for that, we're grateful. And again, these supermoons, very, very powerful, very powerful. So take these days into consideration as you're doing your demonstrations. And if you can plan your demonstrations on those days, or generally what I do is I will either write something on those days, or mail something on those days or deliver something on those days. And so that the postmark, even on the mailing, will say that it's done on the full moon day. And if you look back on our national timeline of the things that we did, it will follow the full moons. It will follow, not follow the full moons. The full moons happen to happen on those days that we did things. And this was since 2017 when we first woke up. We either did it on full moons or new moons, a lot of the things that we did. So our national timeline, it will state, you'll see if you go back and look at the affidavits that we put on the public record, including the bonds that we just put on the public record. The bonds were put on the record on I believe it was June the 3rd, which was the full moon. So we dated our bonds for that day. That was the day that I believe I wrote them up, and then we voted on them shortly thereafter and put them on the public record around that time period. So keep those days in mind, very powerful. And we might as well use the cosmos and the energies that are in our favor, all of those energies. Now, this information is Masonic information that was being used in the last era as an enactment against the dead or those enacting being dead, and we thought we were dead U.S. citizens last era. We enacted that, and on these days, unbeknownst to us, just go back and look at all the things that you've been through. And look and compare when the full moon or the new moon was. I remember when I was in 2009, I believe it was, when and this was long before I woke up. But I had a run-in with the policy enforcers, who were enacting, being the police then. Where one of them said it's a full moon, so we have more issues when there's a full moon. And I always remembered that because I thought, why would that have anything to do with it? That's what I was thinking in my sleep, because we had not been taught our own science. But when there's a full moon, the energies are much higher, and we as a people respond more. We do more. We get more of a divine urge. But in our sleep, it's not a divine urge. It's a programmed urge. And the programmed urges is how a lot of us in our sleep enacted things that led us to being in the penitentiaries and the jails. Let's face that. If any of us have gotten into enacted any issues with being in jail, quote unquote, when in our sleep, all you have to do is look back at that time and see when the full moon was. And you will see that it was you probably did something, or we probably did some enactment on that day, that just because our energy was activated and we didn't know the right things to do with it. But now we do know the right things to do with our energies. The first thing to do whenever, and this is actually every day, is consult with your within. Go within and say, ancestors, what's going on today? What should we be doing? And after a while, you won't even have to ask that question. Why? Because you'll already have things that you're doing. You'll have documents that you're going to write. You'll have demonstrations that you're going to do. You'll have research that you're going to do as well. So, just again, use this information to demonstrate your status and knowing that our ancestors and the energies and the universe is all in our favor. It's all in our favor. All of it, every bit of it is in our favor. So we wanted to put those dates before you so that you can see them, note them, and then activate whatever it is, because listen, everything that we desire for ourselves and for our heirs is manifested and continuing to manifest. So these dates are important for that, to assist. Again, we just use nature to assist us. One thing that our Grand Sheikh Tajiri Bey stated early on is that when we stand, nature will come to our aid. Well, that's what this is. We bring nature to our aid. Because first and foremost, the urge is within us. The natural urge to do that is within us. So we are, yes, Justice Sharif, that is just so wise. That's some wisdom there. He said in the chat, the moon controls all the fluids on the planet. When the moon is full, the blood pressure is higher. And you know what? I would add to that, because that is absolutely, we affirm. I would add to that the moon also controls the pressures, what pressure is exerted or not exerted on the planet. When there's because the pressure in the fluids is different from what it is outside of the fluids. Yes, Empress Danielle put gravity. Yes, indeed, and that's why I said pressure. Gravity is pressure, one way or another. Something that we do know, and we'll talk about this briefly. Indeed, Empress. Empress Danielle, you're right where you are supposed to be. You're not behind at all, just so that you know that, because the things that you're stating, the spirit is right there. Our spirits are never behind. They're never lost. They're never out of sync when we just state that this is what we want to know. This is what we desire. So speaking of the fluids and all of that, I don't know if many of you have seen clouds and sky. I'm sure you probably have seen clouds that look like this. Let me say this about that, because at one point I was tired of seeing clouds that looked like this at our territory. I was tired of the sun being covered. The ancestors told me something so profound that I actually ended up letting someone else know this. We do have the authority to control the elements. And what I'm about to tell you will prove that we can, and I've demonstrated that in this territory. As with all of our authority, competence and peacefulness through study, demonstration, and determination are important. Our control is determined by the amount of carbon that we emit. When calm is optimal, then we contain our energy so that the energy around us calms. So, for example, when foreign combative energies present, we just calm ourselves when foreign combative energies present, because calm is optimal whenever there's a bunch of high energies and energies that where the direction of the energy, we have to direct it because it's not directed properly. And that goes for all energies. So when calm is optimal, then we contain our energy and close our chakras in, close them in, because there's a lot of energy that comes through them. We actually have to close our chakras in so that the energy around us calms. That's what getting quiet and closing your eyes is. So whenever in the last era somebody would say, let's pray, and everybody would bow their heads and close their eyes, their energy and their chakras also closed, and there was calm. That was witchcraft. And when I say witchcraft, I don't mean anything harmful. I mean witch as in WHICH. In other words, what are we doing with our energies? There was someone saying, let us pray. So because they knew in the last era that the minute the heirs, who are so powerful naturally, calm down and go within like that and close your eyes and look down at your heart and your chakra, you're closing your chakra and you don't even realize that that's what you're doing. You're closing your heart chakra. See, they say it's opening it when you pray, but you're really closing it. And when you close it, that causes everyone and everything around you to be calm. So that also causes the amount of carbon that you send out to lessen and lessen and lessen and be calm. Now, when you hear, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but with regard to the weather and these skies, listen, the more you do physically, the clearer the sky will be. The carbon that we, the natural indigenous people, emit during physical activity is the lightest element on the element chart in terms of weight. It's very light. The carbon that we emit is very light. When combined with oxygen, it becomes the heaviest element on the element table. And that's why we breathe oxygen. When we're breathing oxygen in and out, see, that was the only way we would be able to stay here. Is we had to have oxygen and carbon mixing together so that we stand on the ground. Or else we would defy the laws of gravity and go right on up. Our activity causes the lightweight carbon that we emit to rise very quickly, even indoors. When our carbon emission mixes with the oxygen molecule in the clouds, because clouds are H2O, 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecule, the clouds will clear up and you will be able to see the sky. I've done it many times here. It does take, there was, and in some cases there is a little bit of a delay in the time span from when you exercise or when you do some activity that it takes for the sky to clear up, for that carbon to rise. But it will do so. When I first started knowing this in my knower, before I could describe it with my words, I just noticed that every time I got on the treadmill, no matter how dark it was outside and how cloudy it was, the sun would come out every time. And even today still. I knew it, but I didn't know that. I knew it had something to do with me being on the treadmill. I just could not describe it. But now I can, now that I know our science. So, again, Morris, when it happens, just think about this. When we were out on the land picking cotton and doing all of those things, it was hot all the time because we were out there. It was hot. That's why we were out there. We didn't know that's why we were out there. But every time when bunches and whole, think about too, when the quote unquote Indians, and they're not really Indians, the Indians start doing a dance. In our sleep, when they did the dance, it rained. For us, the rain goes away and the sun comes. unless we all agree that we're going to dance for rain. It was the carbon emissions that made it happen one way or the other. That's what rain dances were all about. Yes, Empress Danielle says she is wind. We can all pull that forth depending on how we utilize our carbon emissions. So when you think about the energy that carbon is, know that in the last era, the subjects in the office of whatever, energy department, whatever, were always talking about carbon emissions and lowering carbon emissions so that global warming won't happen, right? How do you lower carbon emissions? You invent computers, and you don't invent them. You just copy what the Moors did, computers and cell phones and things to keep everyone inside so they won't be out there, so that the sky can cloud up and it can rain often. And if that doesn't work, seed the clouds. So, again, we have the authority to control the weather. We always had it. And then think about this too. Whenever there was a parade or a marathon or something of that nature, they would make, in the last era, those energies would make sure that they balanced out the energy that we had by attending, being on the fringes somewhere, overlording that event. They were called the city. So we're very powerful. And when we all decide together, even if two of us decided together that we wanted things to be different. Now, Moors at places where it snows, just know that snow was not something that was natural. It wasn't natural before. If you read in the Biblios, the plants were watered by dew coming up from the earth. It didn't rain. Rain was not normal. It wasn't normal. Leaves and, falling, the fall, that was not normal until the fall. And when I say the fall, I mean when we agreed to fall. Fall was not normal because things didn't just die like that. We controlled everything like we do today. We just need to know, we desire that the information be published, that we know that we control everything. So that's what all the picking cotton and all of that, it was hot. It was hot. And then the Moors at the northern territories, Detroit, New York, and places like that, they had a different thing going on in terms of it. But think about Chicago. Chicago is in the Midwest, but it's not that far from Detroit. It's not that far. But it will get up to 80 and 90 degrees in Chicago. Because that's a portal too for Moors. So the heat index there goes up just by virtue of where it is and the nature of the Moors that are there. Because a lot of the ancient energy is still there. It's everywhere. Our ancient energy is everywhere, but there are specific things that happen at every city. there are ancient things that happen. So make no mistake about that. This whole land is Mecca. This whole earth is Mecca. Oh, yes. So I just wanted to bring that forth because it absolutely does not look like this here. I actually pulled this photo off of YouTube. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom? I also noticed that on days when I was tired, and this is just maybe, I'm just stating these things just for those who have that commonality in their experiences. I noticed that on days when I didn't drink enough water, if I didn't drink enough water over a certain period of days, it would definitely cloud up outside and start raining. And that's when the rains came. And then as soon as I, rehydrated myself, then everything would clear up. And rehydrate and work out. Rehydrate and just go for a walk. Then there wouldn't be any need for any rain. And so the rain would go away. And I experiment with that, at different times and different points to see, what happens when I do certain things. Some may think that it's a coincidence, but we know that it's not. There's no such thing as a coincidence. Even when we think about the word coincidence means that there's two different parties coming together for an incident to happen. That's duality. It's duality. Whereas with us, that's why they talk about the singularity, because we are all one. So with that being stated, are there any questions, comments, or wisdom, or any from this Congress with regard to what we've stated thus far? We want you to know these things because we know that we're all having experiences, and all of our experiences are related to each other. So there are some Moors who the weather gets them down. When you get down like that, drink lots of water and do some exercises of some kind. Even if it's only 15 or 30 minutes of exercise, do some exercise and drink lots of water. And always drink more water than the amount of food you eat. Because the water is to filter us. We're natural filters, so the water assists us with that. With that being stated, into our subject matter, this is regarding subjects on our land as well. The government hears from the people. Okay, so we've switched gears now, and now we're talking legislation, and we're talking governmental, for example, this Congressional Assembly and what it is about. What we're doing is looking at issues that happen, and we're saying, how can we govern that better? The government hears from the people in their territory. So each one of you, no matter how new you are, you're the government at your territory. And the government brings the people's issues to the Congress to legislate. And since we know that we are Congress, those issues are brought to us. Here's how it's done. The subjects go to the governing Moors for remedy. So every Moor at every territory is the government. Every Moor. Okay? There are some Moors that are going to govern because they know that it is necessary. There are other Moors who will only want to go so far because they're tired of paperwork. And I can't say I'm not making a little bit light of that, because I am. Our estate is worth the work that we do. So the governing Moors govern, period. That's just how it works. your spirit, and again, we all govern together. So it's not a matter of competition between us. It's a matter of us all governing together. There are Moors at other territories at Washington who govern. We honor what they state. We honor their governing. There are other Moors at this territory who don't know they're Moors yet, but when they wake up, they're governing too. And so the subjects are to state their true status and speak by an affidavit that they make. So we've had subjects who come to these congressional assemblies, and the subjects are welcome here. They're welcome here to come and bring their affidavits. And again, their affidavits do not look like our affidavits. Nonetheless, it's still an affidavit. Their affidavits are not the same as ours because we are the court and we are the government. So we want to just kind of delineate some things and put some things on the record so that we know how we are to govern. When subjects come to us for government, they can submit an affidavit, and then we discuss those things and issue rulings. We're at that point now where subjects will be coming to us. Subjects are anyone who, if they're of the bloodline and birth, they don't know that they're the government. So we tell them as often as possible that they're the government. For example, I have Moors who are in my, who send me text messages and things like that. They don't know that they're the government. They don't know. They just know that we talk about Moorish stuff, but it has not been absorbed into their being that they're the government. So whenever they say, well, whenever they have an issue, they say, can your court deal with this? And it just takes a lot of restraint on my part not to say, you're the court, deal with it yourself because you're the court, and I will assist you with that. But instead, we just do our best to walk our way through that with them until they realize that, oh, I have the authority to do all of that. All of that. And so when sleeping Moors do come, they use, we all use the same affidavits. When subjects come, they can just get a regular blank piece of paper, write out their affidavits like they were doing previously, because they were doing this previously. We didn't know that we could write out an affidavit and use it, most of us. There's the occasional Moor who might know that, but most of us did not know. I know I did not know. Just one moment. I want to show. Just one moment.
Islam. Might you open the call, please? Rosetta's trying to get in.
Sure, indeed. We will do that. There was a there was a link that I wanted to show you, just an example of an affidavit here. I'll just pull this one up because I think this is the one. It has an affidavit on it. It's just a plain affidavit. Just a moment. It's unlocked, indeed. Islam. Some Moors at New York Territory were sharing some information with me, and I saw an affidavit. It was just a plain affidavit And again, you all can just, instead of showing it, again, just the subjects can take just a blank piece of paper and write out an affidavit. And so, just a moment, let me make sure my camera is on. Yes, it is. Okay. So they can take just a plain affidavit and write it out. Now, and that affidavit should be given to the Moor at that territory. And then, you know, again, we just make everyone aware of who they really are. Okay, and that's how governing is done. Just one moment. Oops. Just a moment. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, and again, additionally, regarding our commerce, first let me finish with regard to the subjects. The subjects submit their affidavits to our courts, and our courts rule and execute and enforce according to the law. Subjects do not use our letterhead. Additionally, regarding our commerce,
Polly want a Land Rover? Polly want a Land Rover? Polly want a Land Rover? Where's your fucking land?
And they don't really like when we point out that they're subject to us. They don't really like that. But we, you know, it's all good. It's going to be what it is. We have to be truthful.
If I'm a subject to you, wouldn't you be able to command me to stop?
That's what we do when things are, you know. So anyway, additionally, regarding our commerce, all of our ministries, to include the transportation ministry, are established by our government affidavits. Now, our government affidavits are on Moorish government letterhead. We've seen those, we've shown them, and this is for all Moors. When you are doing your commerce, you can use Moorish government letterhead to establish whatever it is that you're doing first. And you can use, and when I say you can, what I'm stating is we suggest this as the best way to do things. Our ministries are similar to corporations, but they're not corporations, not in the sense of the last era. Our governments, which are cities, states, federal, etc., are established by
That's funny, the last era is the same as this era because you still don't have your free conveyance. You don't. Just a moment. So,
our governments, cities, states, etc., which is what we govern, are established by ancient affidavit and or ancient sovereign royal charter. And we've shown you the royal charter where we established a business or some merchant actions by sovereign royal charter. We've also done the ancient affidavits, and all of our affidavits are ancient, so any of those you can look at. Our mercantilism and commerce is established by ancient corporate affidavit or ancient royal charter under our sovereign authority. So as we're, just one moment. So as we're doing the things that we're doing in terms of our demonstrations, even again, according to the calendar that we just showed, just one moment. Our mercantilism, and we know that in the last era they pronounced it mercantilism. Our mercantilism and commerce is established by ancient corporate affidavit or ancient royal charter under our sovereign authority. So the ancient corporate affidavits, again, is a nationalized logo on a document. Okay, just one moment, make sure my screen. So with regard to citizen status, an example of not citizen status, actually this is something that I wanted to bring out because of where we are in all of this and looking at ancient records, okay, about who we are and about the tools we use as we're doing our commerce and as we're writing our writs and affidavits. An example of citizen status, ancient citizen status, because that's an ancient word. A citizen is an ancient word that was used in ancient Rome, okay? But at ancient Morocco, there was nothing that dealt with citizenship because we did not use all caps. We didn't use all caps names from ancient times. That was only that was something that happened newly in the last 100 or 200 years. So, as an example, Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters and blue ink is my citizen. I own her. That is a citizen who is subject to Pauline Ritchie in capitis diminuendo minima, who is a governing mature daughter and heiress to the God who is Pauline Ritchie. And this is true for all of us. Okay? No, we're not dead United States Corporation Company citizens from the last era. That era's done. We're not babbling about that anymore. What we're talking about now is all things created and made new by us. We are not persons, citizens, or subjects. We were not born in the United States. We were born at ancient Morocco, which is the land. Okay? We live in our bodies, and our persons domicile in the States United. Our persons domicile in the States United. So I'm just clearing up some precepts that we have been using and looking at where our capitalism is concerned and our commerce is concerned and our way of governing is concerned. We live in our bodies. Our persons domicile in the States United. So persons exist on paper. Persons that we create exist on paper. Persons from the last era don't exist. They're not real. And that's why they must be created by us and restated by us, no matter what the document is. If you, and an example of that is, if someone sends something that is supposedly a bill to an all caps name, That name is not you, and that debt is not your debt. So you must restate that debt with using your all caps, which looks the same. In most cases, it looks exactly the same, except you created it because you're the fiduciary. So we do govern all persons, all citizens, and all subjects. And these are just a matter of what lettering is used. Persons is all capitalized name. This is a natural person. Pauline Ritchie is a natural person and a citizen on ancient land. That is a tool that I use to do commerce on the land. There's a reason why we're clarifying this based on what we are going to present to you here shortly. The all caps is a citizen who is subject to Pauline Ritchie, who is a governing, mature daughter and heiress to God, who is Pauline Ritchie in all lowercase letters. That is true for all Moors. When you talk about your all caps, your in capitis diminutio minima, and your all lowercase letters appellation, sovereign-born appellation. You are the God to the mature governing daughter and heiress or son and heir, and you as your tool in capitis diminutio minima as the governing mature son or daughter is over all corporations, to include the all caps that you govern. Okay, so again, the governing happens on first because of our bloodline and birthright, and then also on paper. That's where government happens. That's why it's called administration. Okay, and that's why we're stating what we're stating. Administration and governing, government is done by administration or ministry work. And that happens first on paper, and then it is executed physically in this dimension. So all persons and people can use Moorish Sovereign Dolarium Gold receipts, but the receipts must be autographed and thumbprinted by an ancient, original, indigenous governing Moor, which is exactly what happened last era, but to the opposite, where when we were enacting using fiat, there were signatures on the fiat, and those signatures were never living, breathing Moors. They were always black signatures done by actors. So Moorish Sovereign Dolarium is the same thing. Your Moorish Sovereign Dolarium, that the gold receipts that you give, those have your autograph and your thumbprint on them. And then once you send them, whoever it is that you send them to can use them. And if it's a subject in the office of secretary, state secretary, if it's a subject in the office of state secretary, they can handle it and move it back and forth, to execute your will, to exercise your governing authority. Not exercise your governing authority. I don't mean that. I mean to do your will. You're all they're doing is moving things about, but they can't move unless we say so. That's what subjects do. So some have agreed to be subjects. Others have not agreed to be subjects, and so they're leaving. Okay. So an example of subject status regarding foreigners. Those who are not original, ancient, and indigenous are not triune. In other words, they don't have the 3 in 1. They don't have all lowercase. They're not sovereign because of the land that they're on and the way that they were created. Okay? So Vladimir Moskowitz, and I'm just using that as an example, is subject to the government, who is subject to God. We are the government. We are also God. He and all those who came here to stay were born in the United States. Okay?
God.
Wow. So, again, they do not like when we state these things, but it is what it is. It is truth. So, anyone who came here, or whose grandmother, or whose great-grandmother, or whose great-great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather came here. In other words, if they have not been here since time immemorial, Vladimir Moskowitz is subject to this government, which is all Moors, who are subject to God, which is all Moors in our God state. Okay. And all of those who came here are born in this United States, these states united. Okay, and that's why they can submit affidavits, and this court and this Congress talk about those things. You know, if they're having any issues on the land, then they submit an affidavit to the Moors and the governing Moors, because some Moors don't want to govern, but they must. They just don't realize it yet. And then we deal with those, whatever is going on the land. And that is according to treaty law. Treaty law says that if there's any issues between Moors and citizens, or subjects rather, Moors and subjects, that the consul is to decide. That's what it says on our treaty that we've placed on the public record. So we just want to clarify where subjects come in at, and the difference between the all caps and the in capitis diminutio minima of the heirs versus the all caps of a subject. The all caps of a subject is not a citizen, they're a subject. The all caps of a Moor of ancient bloodline and birthright is a citizen. And there's a difference between citizens and subjects. And again, we govern them all. We govern our own all caps. We govern all of that. We all do. Okay. We just want to clarify, and it's actually being made clearer to us as we demonstrate the differences and the similarities and the likenesses. Because we must be clear when we're governing on how to do that. And for some, if this is not clear yet, just continue listening and demonstrating your sovereign status, because it will become clearer as time, as you continue to demonstrate. Pauline Ritchie, in all capital letters, is my citizen, or our citizen. Our citizen. I created it, her, but that's our citizen. Okay, and then the she is subject to Pauline Ritchie, or the state, and we all are the state. Okay, and then Pauline Ritchie, who is a governing mature daughter and heiress to God, is subject to God, who is in all lowercase letters. So this is with regard to Moors. Okay, this is not the hierarchy in a dead society, because that dead society is dead and we're not dead. Okay, so foreign governments, this is not the hierarchy where foreign governments are concerned. This is the hierarchy for our nation. We govern all citizens, all subjects, all in everything that has to do with citizens and subjects. When there's any conflict, which there should not be, but if there's any conflict on the land, we govern that conflict in this manner. Okay, so if there's someone whose great grandmother was from a foreign land, for example, the subjects that we have on the land generally are modern European, and we love them. We love everyone. Government still must be in the natural order. Okay, and so again, my all caps is a citizen, their all caps is a subject. But even if there was any conflict, my all caps, of course, we would govern it. We all would govern it, and theirs. They would be on what would be. Let's see, how do you say this? When they come into court, proper identification of the parties must be on the record. So the subjects must have an affidavit with them that says who they really are in order for the Constitution to be in play. Okay? So proper identification, and if they don't have an affidavit that says who they are, and again, they can do an affidavit, just write it out on a plain piece of paper, like they've been doing, because that's what they were doing previously. Write it out, who they are, where they come from, and all of that. And then our courts will govern whatever the issue is. Okay? Because there'll be some issues that come up where, we have to see who's right about according to the law. Okay? And so we want to do that with wisdom, and we want to always be just about the things that we do. And we also know that by us being the supreme law for the land, that if the issue comes down to just two people arguing, we look at status. Okay? When it comes to anything, we just look at status and see, okay, who's who and what's what and how and what does the law say, which we're the law about it. We are the law. Okay? And so with that being stated, that is why it's important for us to also be, to leave the emotions and things and the feelings, know how to set that aside so that we can look at the law for what it is. And then we make our judgment or our justice based on that. So with that being stated, are there any questions or comments about that? We spent some time in our study looking at the 14th Amendment. And again, we've always just completely dismissed it, which we should, because it doesn't apply to us. But now that we know that we're the government and we're the court, this is going to answer some questions that we were not clear about either in our sleep or when we first nationalized. We were not sure how this was to go. And I'm speaking from my experience. I was just thinking, okay, at first we just said, okay, no 14th Amendment at all. Well, it needed to be restated first and foremost if it was going to be used. But we don't have to use it, okay? And we have not placed the 14th Amendment on the public record from a restatement point of view. But I want to point some things out about it that if we, because we know how to read, it will state what it really should have stated from even back in the times when our ancestors were writing things and putting them on the public record with regard to the Constitution and any amendments. Okay, we know the 14th Amendment listen, the whole Constitution was corrupt from the beginning until we wrote it. So we're looking at this, and again, this is just something that we want to take a look at when you're talking about all caps, because the all caps was stated to be a 14th Amendment person. And that's what we thought we were. We thought we were black, Negro, colored, African American, whatever, when that is not who we are. So what it says is, and this is what it stated, what it said in the last era. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. We thought when we saw that made it so that everybody was created equal. Okay, and that's what they fed us in the sleep. That no, just because you all have been here forever, you are equal to us. And even then, we didn't know that we had, we didn't know we had been here forever. We didn't know that it's not a matter of man being equal to God or humans being equal to God. We, when we were enacting civil rights, we thought, yes, all men are created equal. And we actually were they had us, and I can't say they had us because we had us marching because nobody came and put a gun to our head and said march. It was our understanding that had us marching and saying all men are created equal and equal protection of the laws. Okay? So we didn't know what a person was. We didn't know that we're not persons. But it says here, all persons born or naturalized in the United States. We were never born or naturalized in the United States ever. We thought we were. We were born on ancient land. That's federal. It's not states, it's federal. Okay? And it says here clearly, and again, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That means anybody that was claiming to be born in the dead United States was automatically subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Automatically subject. But again, there was confusion there. There was confusion there. The 14th Amendment never applied to us. It never applied to us. But now we are governing subjects and citizens. So it's important to make distinctions and point things out of this nature so that we have a clear understanding and understanding of exactly who's who on the land, because Babylon has fallen. All persons born or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That also indicates that there might have been some who were born that were not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters was created in the United States that we have placed on the public record as our living original indigenous states united. Okay? So the all caps is subject to the jurisdiction of our United States, the living United States, not the dead one. So that is a citizen. She's not a subject, she's a citizen. And again, this indicates that there are some who may not be subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Are citizens of anyone who, so there are some that are citizens and there are some that are subjects, is what we're stating here. Like we stated above, there are some that are born at our United States, which is our states united, the living United States. And again, that's why we created our own birth certificates. We said we're the states united. We're going to create the all caps. We're going to create the in capitis diminutio minima as well, which is the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters in lowercase. We create that. We're the fiduciaries for that. We're the gods over all of that. All of those persons. Okay? And then if there's someone who is not original and indigenous, they are a subject in our United States. Now, that may be offensive to some, but they were proud to be subjects over at England in the last era. Proud to be subjects of the quote-unquote queen and the crown over there. That means that that's been switched around, and we must put it in its rightful place and proclaim it to be so. There's a reversion of estate on subjects. We're doing that. We're clarifying that reversion of estate right now. Anyone who has documentation from our United States that we issue to them, they are a subject, or if they have nationality documents, they're a citizen. If they have nationality documents, they're not they are, their all caps is a citizen. Let me clarify that. Just like I said, my all caps is a citizen. She's not a subject because she was created by me from here on the land. Okay? But if someone comes from another place, or their grandmother or great-grandfather or whomever from another place, and they're not original and indigenous, then there is a subject mechanism that is activated when they come here and they want to stay here and they want to, live here and live out their time here and be here. Okay? Those are subjects. And the same thing at UK and Jamaica territory. When people come to your territory and they're from someplace else and they say, you know what, I just want to be here. I only want to be here. I want to work here. I want to retire here. I want to be here. Okay. Then they are subject to the government there, which would be the Moors, who issue them things like driver's license, birth certificate, and all of that. We have to issue that. Okay? And then this is the part that we didn't know was going on in the background. We did not know that the subjects from the last era doing businesses, presidents and secretaries of state and teachers and lawyers and all that, what we didn't know is that they had some documents floating way in the background back there that said that they are citizens and that we were the subjects, because they were claiming that they were created on the land that they created, which was paper, the paper land. They were speaking Babylonian. They were speaking Babylonian. So as we've pointed out to you in the past, there were multiple United States. For all that we speak about, there's a dead United States, which was from last era, so it is no more. And we are the living states united, called the United. We use that mechanism called the United States. So with that being stated, it says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. So again, citizens didn't have any rights and neither did subjects. They had privileges and immunities. And that's if they invoked those privileges and immunities. We did not know to invoke any of that from the last era in our enactment. We didn't know to invoke that. But affidavit is how, and that's why we're putting this on the public record now, that subjects can get a plain affidavit and submit it to the Moorish, the courts, the Article 3 courts that are governed by Moors, regardless of what that court is called. It could be the Supreme Court, which is who we are. We're also the Congress, but we're also district court, because district is a legal term. We're even municipal courts if needs be. We govern everything that we do. So I'm just pointing out here again, privileges and immunities are not rights. So even when people, and this Morris was a clarification that we desired to know and place on the public record and acknowledge, because see, when people are driving down the street and using the dead United States documents, dead ones, that means ones that were not issued by us, but claiming that they have a right to travel, they were speaking Greek, because that not Greek. They were speaking, the language the frequencies were not the same with what they were saying versus what they were doing. Okay, they were carrying dead documents, but claiming to be the living. They were carrying commercial documents, but claiming to be non-commercial, because travel is non-commercial. It is not commercial. Okay, travel is not commercial. And that's why we have a right to travel. We have a right to do that. If you're doing commerce, on the other hand, then commerce is commercial. Buying and selling. Buying and selling. So the reason that we're bringing all of this up is because we've recently, in our last Congressional Assembly, talked about the driver's license piece on our land. And again, your input is highly valued, and I would say I even request, and we only request of each other. Request your input on that piece as we move into that piece right now. The thing about this 14th Amendment, privileges and immunities don't even, first of all, it's actually very incompetently written, because if you're talking privileges and immunities and you've not used the word right anywhere in here, then why are you talking about property and liberty and life? Why? Is life, liberty, and property a privilege and immunities, or is that a right for those who are properly documented and according to the law? And who is the law? We are the law. So there was a whole lot of just babble about this 14th Amendment because of how incompetently it's written. Not only is it incompetently written, it's leaving out some things and putting in some things. I mean, in my opinion, it's really telling the truth, except there's things missing. You know, again, when you're talking about life, liberty, and property, privileges and immunities that's not a thing. So, because all property belongs to the state. That's why that's why it talks about states. So, all that we're doing is to, again, ensure that our land is lawful and that there is clarity on all that we put forth. There is, but at the foundation of everything is the identity of the parties. That is the foundation for every court action, is who is speaking and who's governing, who's doing things. Who is it? So ultimately, we're not subject to any jurisdiction anywhere because we are the jurisdiction. Then comes the part about us coming together and agreeing that, okay, we're going to use these instruments. And then if there are any issues, we're going to honor what our courts say. And again, we're all the courts. That's why it's so important for every one of us to be governing, every one of us. Because we're going to have issues between us, and I won't say issues between us. We're going to have things where we're coming together and unifying, and that we are that it is our responsibility to clarify. And so we want to be able, we desire that be a peaceful process. So we have to agree to abide by the laws that we put on the public record. That's why what we're doing right now is so important, because we've agreed to put some things on the public record. And if we have any questions about them, we have this Congress to come and just say, hey, what is this about? What is that about? You know, Islam.
I'm reading this, and it's stating to me, anyway, that this is for the ipso jurs, because of the fact of the matter is, it should read, all subjects born or naturalized in the States United and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, or are subjects of the States United and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law in which shall abridge their privileges, and then they don't really should get any immunities because they're subject to the de jure of citizens of States United, nor shall any state deprive any person or subject life, liberty, and the right to, live without due process of law, nor deny any person within its de jure jurisdiction the equal liberty of, divine law. That's how it should read, because they're the only ones who could be naturalized by the divine indigenous people.
So what do you call the States United? Is that in all lowercase letters, or is that in...
Well, States United, but United States being, I was making this distinction that we are the States United and United States. So that's why I stated it that way, not to get confused.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry, I apologize, Empress. Go ahead.
Oh, not to get confused with the previous, way of this would read United States corporate.
Mm-hmm. That's all. Thank you for that. So the subjects, from what we see, the subjects already know their job. They already know what they're to do. They already know who they are. And we could put a bunch of laws on the record for them, which we've done. We just said the Constitution. But then now what we're discussing is, because see, what I heard you say was exactly the point that I was making about mixing divine law with the supreme law. Now, again, the supreme law is divine. However, there are levels that we want to observe, because even if you were doing, even if we decided to call everything according to the imperial divan, there's still levels that are observed for a particular reason. Because see, when you're talking about persons, this is a person. Pauline Ritchie, in all capital letters, is a person. It's a natural living person, but it's still a person. And whenever I'm using that to do something, there is a structure in place to be observed. Why am I stating that? Because we're about to go into major commerce, and we've been in ancient commerce since time immemorial, but we're moving forward with our own commerce, with dollarium, with gold, with silver, and so on and so forth. So my Pauline Ritchie has to be observant of some laws as she's going out getting some things and doing some things too. She, just because she's attached to me does not mean that she is that she's lawless. Just one moment. Just one moment. Someone's calling to get into the meeting. Okay. There are laws that govern what Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters does. It's unlocked justice a kill. Okay. And so if there is anything going on between the all caps Pauline Ritchie out there doing commerce or whatever she's doing, and a subject who has an all caps too that they're existing with, and I don't know that they will even be doing commerce because we're doing it. But if she's out doing commerce and there is conflict between her and someone else doing commerce, not conflict, but there is something that needs to be worked out between her and another merchant out there doing commerce, then there has to be something that we look at to say, how is this action governed? That way the peace is kept and there's no breach of peace at commerce. Moors have to prepare and be ready for that too, for those who are going to do commerce. You must know the concepts and precepts of commerce if you're going to do commerce. If you're going to do commerce, then a constitution governs what you do. And then our courts decide. Okay? And that automatically, again, it's going to put things where it should be in terms of, remedy. Just one moment. So,
Pauline, you're a fucking fraud. Pauline, none of your shit works. Where's your
So
Islam.
now, Islam.
Well, I got a testimony today from one of the Moors at New York. I had suggested that they do a packet that I created to send to Vital Records to change the status on the record, and he had went.
Angel Bay, where's your freaking base, dumb bitch? We're waiting for your freaking base.
Offices to check up on some things, and he asked the question.
Try talking without saying all the time. Angel Bay, you're retarded.
Is the status that reflects in the system, and it was stated that he is and his heirs are Native American and white. That their political status is white in this system, and I was like, oh, Islam, because that is a status correction, no longer being considered black or African American or colored in the system. So, yes, I was like, wow, our paperwork does work, and it was corrected.
Of course it does. Again, the system is ours. We've done everything that we should do as a nation and government.
Mentally deficient. She can't speak without saying the words
We are we've done all that we desired to do in terms of turning over the tables of the money changers. And so the system is our system when we're competent to speak to it and state that it do as commanded, and it will do. Our system will do. Our system is a she. She will do as commanded. It's a she or a he, either one. Will do as commanded. So then now what you're talking about is an all caps name being reflected in the system, because that's what the system uses, is all caps names. Okay? And so this all caps tool, because it's a tool that we use, this all caps tool is a citizen. So then if there was something to happen with regard to that Moore who the system reflects the proper status of the all caps tool that he is using, because he's the fiduciary for that tool, then as fiduciary, he would stand and state who he really is and invoke properly the Constitution that has been put on the public record by our government, and that would be, and then he would also govern that issue, or he can have someone else govern the issue, look at it. If he feels he cannot be objective and fair, then he would have someone else who can be non-biased, objective, and fair, and just look at the issue and say, okay, this is what the law says, so this is what is the outcome, this is my ruling on this issue. And we all have to agree to go by the things that our courts say about the all caps. And that's really the point. Because what we started doing now is we talked about issuing the driver's licenses for our land. I think that's some Moors feel like they don't need a driver's license. And you know what? Again, let's talk layers. Their divinity does not need a driver's license. Their divinity in their divine status, they don't need a driver's license. In their, as being we the people or the public has public transportation, so they still don't need one. But if they're going to be doing commerce, they do need one. It's 3 layers. That's why there's the triune God. There's 3 parts to this. There's Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters. There's Pauline Ritchie in capitis diminutio minima. And there's Pauline Ritchie in capitis diminutio nolo. And so, again, as we're issuing driver's license and things and doing the things that we're doing, what we're stating on the record is that anyone using the driver's licenses issued by us, this state, the things that they do when they're driving are governed by this state and these courts, our courts. And so fairness is due. Justice is due. And that's how the people get the remedy that they are seeking. Okay. Again, my all caps is a proud citizen of this United States that our courts govern. That all caps is very proud. Pauline Ritchie in capitis diminutio minima, which is in the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters in lowercase, she is a proud people, original indigenous people. She's part of the people. And then there's Pauline Ritchie, as you see us today. And we're never, we don't have split personalities where we're one time. We're the all at all times. It's just a matter of which tool we're using at the time. Which tool are we using? That's where, when we were in our sleep, those fake courts would be switching hats, and we didn't know they switched hats. See, the beneficiary is in all capital letters. The heiress is in capitis diminutio minima. That's the heiress. Okay? The heir to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce is the people. And then the God who created everything. Why? Because we said, okay, let's create our land and call it this and put that on the public record. So we created it. Hopefully what I'm saying is clarifying the commercial piece, because yes, if you're going to do commerce, it has to be done in an orderly manner, okay? And it has to be lawful, so it has to be in gold, silver, natural resources, more sovereign dolarium. It has to be approved by and validated by our state, all of us. We have to, and we've agreed already as to what we're going to be using. And so now, as we're beginning to issue the driver's license, the subjects can have a driver's license too. In the background, their affidavit is going to be on the public record as to who they really are, because that's one of the mandates for getting a driver's license issued by us. And I'm talking our whole government is issuing driver's licenses. So as the driver's licenses are being issued, that is agreement that everything comes to our courts. No matter what the issue is, everything comes to our courts. And then, of course, our courts operate with all of the tools that courts have at their, and banks have at their disposal, or use rather. Okay? So, and then when you have a subject and a citizen standing before you, okay, in your court, and there's something that has taken, some incident that has taken place, first we look at status and we say, okay, this is a Moor, so we know that they have sovereign right on the land. This is a subject, and the subject has privileges and immunities if they invoke them and if we approve them. Okay? Because at any time we can be the law and say yes or no one way or the other. Then we look at the facts, and then we rule on the facts. Okay? So, and we do that with justice and fairness, as always, as we like we do with everything else.
Islam. Just as Nate and I were speaking recently, and I remember our previous congressional meeting some time ago, and we was talking about this very topic about, licenses and things and such. And I had asked a question about, having governance still be a thing for safety purposes, and I had just, made a comment and statement about very true that, because, inertia and gravity, they don't just stop because we're sovereign. Actually, it amplifies, because now we are, our energy is, amplified. So that means the law that that should be overseeing that whole topic of, navigation as far as like safety is concerned, that is still going to be something that is going to be governed, even more so because, like I stated previously, it's amplified. Yeah. And so, Islam.
Yeah, Islam, Empress, I love everybody, but I don't want anybody doing 70 miles per hour down the street here because they're mad at their consort, because they've not grown to the place where they know that that's not what we do, And so going into this realm that we are governing, not going into it, we govern it, and we're creating the realm right now, which is why no one has the authority to speak on it except us, the Moors. And then our subjects, our loyal subjects, can speak by affidavit, and then we rule on whatever it is. This, as I looked at this thing here, it just made all kinds of sense to me about why things went the way they went. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. What is abridge? Is that the law, or is that just a word where you say, well, I'll do it this way as long as I don't abridge? It just so many clarities came for me in terms of capitalism, because and in terms of our heirs as they were going into the animal husbandry schools and things of that nature. Everything became clearer as I began to look at this. And I bring this up, all of this, because of our driver's license piece. And I'd love to hear from you with regard to what I'm about to state on regarding the driver's licenses. With regard to the driver's licenses, Empress Nana, did you want to say something? let me see. Empress Nana. Oh, Islam. I just wanted to be sure that I didn't overlook you wanting to state something.
Islam, Empress. No, sorry, I must have pressed something by accident. Sorry. I'm just listening.
Islam. Yes. See, the driver's license piece is a whole lot bigger than we really realize. The driver's license piece is a whole lot bigger because whoever it is that's issuing driver's licenses gets to, and when I say whoever, I mean whether it be our government or the previous thing that was pretending to be government. That's who gets to govern the land, because nobody can move if, or else you take a risk. Well, we know the land belongs to us, and so we've accepted the ascension and the responsibility for that with regard to our courts. So Justice Morpheus put something in the chat. He said, when I was in basic training, that's the military training, the drill sergeant drilled in their minds that the soldiers have privileges and not rights. I was in the Air Force at one time in my sleep, and they did say that. They did say that at any time they can kick your legs right out from under you, and there's nothing you can do about it. They said that. Fortunately, the ancestors were with us, and we were able to, keep ourselves in a good place. What would the law of equity in general cover some ways in governing commerce? So our courts ultimately, so there are two levels of courts, really three levels of courts. Okay. Equity comes in at the highest level. The Supreme Court, Chancery Court, that's equity. Equity can come in where municipalities are concerned if we choose to bring it in. Equity in municipalities and commercial courts and things like that comes in wherever we put it in. Equity is again, the reason people elevate things to a Supreme Court is for equity, because at the lower courts they were being treated commercially, and they were trying to say this is not a commercial event, this is an equitable event. This is a event that has to do with the law, and that is why things were elevated. Whenever they didn't, whenever commerce and commercial and municipal, quote unquote, whenever the municipality wasn't right equitably, then they would elevate it to the Supreme Court or elevate it to the district court, whichever they went to, or the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, blah, 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 all of that enactment. So Justice Harold, the question he asked was, would the law of equity in general cover some ways to govern commerce? It will, however, that comes in, equity comes in at the very beginning with proper identification of the parties. That's where equity comes in at. That's where it always was supposed to come in at. And that's why there was no remedy in the last enactment, in the last era. There was no remedy for the original indigenous ancient heirs because there was no equitable court that would say that would look at standing and status. Because that's what equity is. It's standing and status. And estate. Whose estate is it is first and foremost in every issue. Who's the Lord? Whose estate is it? That's why in the last era things happened, and even when you were right, sometimes they would be like, nope, give it to them. Or nope, nobody gets anything. Especially when it came to things like civil lawsuits for money and quote unquote money and judgment and things like that. There was never any equity there. I remember when I was working, the EEO offices, they were called the Equal Employment Opportunity Committee. And then after a while, they dropped the C and they just became EEO, Equal Employment Opportunity. And anytime you took anything to them, they were going to rule in favor of the corporation. Whatever cost the corporation less, they were going to rule that. Because it was commerce. So, as we go, Justice Harold, because that's a great question that you asked, would the law of equity in general cover some ways to govern commerce? It starts with that. Commerce starts with equity. First, and let me just say this about that now that while we're on it. First, in commerce, who are you? And do you have a right to be on the land doing commerce? And then, is the commerce that you're doing, what's the species that you're using? Because species is part of identity. So those who are taking fiat for things but still saying they're original and indigenous to the land, that species does not say that. If you're taking fiat, that doesn't say that you're original and indigenous to the land. Doesn't say it. So whatever you're doing, and again, we're not denigrating anyone for the work because the work has to be done. We know that. But your species should match your identity because that's part of identity. And if you're saying that you're original and indigenous, but you're using species created by somebody else, and not even somebody else, a thing, then people would say, okay, I don't know about that, because that's those things don't mix, they don't match. That's corruption. So now we can see where the corruption came from. The corruption comes when things don't align energetically, according to the frequency, they don't align. Fiat is a different frequency from the original indigenous people. And our commerce even. That's a different frequency. And that's why people end up arguing and fussing and fighting. Because of the energy that's on the stuff that they exchanged. I've seen that from the very beginning when we first started doing this work, and you know, we were saying how we were going to, you know, do nationality documents and do what else? Other things. And then I noticed that, ID cards, when we were doing ID cards, and I didn't do ID cards. But as I was watching Moors doing ID cards, and I'm not speaking about anybody in particular, I'm just saying as I was watching, because there were Moors who would do them for a few minutes and say, I'm not doing that anymore. Or they would, the ones that did it for a few minutes and they were charging fiat, they saw early on that people were that there was always an argument. Some folks were having 2 and 3 and 4 IDs done, or never receiving IDs because they never got them. And it wasn't because the Moor didn't send them, it was because the frequencies were different. So even in sending it out, the postal service didn't do their part or whatever, because the frequencies were just off. So that's why we're doing things in the manner that we're doing them, and making sure that we take our time and move forth, lawfully and legally, and ensuring that the frequencies stay the same. So with regard to the public works, and I'm reading this out, but we should still discuss it. And we talked about it before, but I want to talk about it some more today, just because I think it's important to receive either your affirmation or your non-affirmation regarding what we thought, what the ancestors have brought to us. With regard to the public works, the United States Travel Ministry, the states, and the Treasury, we placed and that's all of us. We all placed first priority on taking in more sovereign dolarium gold receipts for donations. Okay, so we did that first. That was first and foremost. With the Al-Moroccan American Exchange and with everything that we've done, we said we're only accepting more sovereign dolarium for these. Everything is established lawfully. For the Al-Moroccan American Exchange investments and for all other business up to this point, we've taken in dolarium gold receipts from the heirs. For that, we are so grateful. So at this point, our Treasury has an abundance of gold receipts. We have an abundance of securities in the form of liens and levies and bonds, and now we're adding to our securities by doing the bonds. We desire to add gold coins to the Treasury. Therefore, the driver's license revenue, and I said will be taken as follows as a measure of thinking, but I would still like for us to vote on this. All licenses issued by the government are in exchange for one 1-ounce gold coin into the Treasury. And this is where, in the last era, they disguised it as patriotism, where they would send and, support their fake treasury. In this era, it's all about our Treasury. It says all Moors who do not have one gold coin can print their own driver's licenses, and we've put that on the public record first before we even thought about this, so that Moors could they don't have to wait. You can print your own driver's license on your, because you have the authority, you're the government. However, your support and our unity is the key to proper, peaceful, constitutional government, and we're unified one way or the other anyway, because our driver's licenses are going to look the same. We desire to fill our treasury with gold according to the will of our ancestors. The United States Transportation Ministry is only accepting gold for the driver's license. Now, that's what I was going to put on the public record, but again, I think that we should vote on that just to either affirm or not affirm on the public record that this is what we're doing. Just one moment. Are there any comments with regard to that?
You should get one of those intercoms instead of the phone, so if you hear any, your mom can push a button and you can keep talking to her.
Just one moment. Are there any questions, comments, or wisdom regarding what we've just stated?
Islam.
Islam.
Are we trusting gold coins that we? I remember earlier you were mentioning making sure that the products that are out here are, 100% of whatever precious metal that is.
Mm-hmm.
So are we trusting a 1 ounce gold coin we would get from the
all
president?
of it's going to be melted down. All of it's going to be melted down to print our own coinage. So anything that's not gold will fall away in that process. So to answer your question, yes, we are.
Islam.
One thing I know about what we're doing, nobility, to that effect, is the divinity comes in where honor, fortunes, and life are concerned. Divinity comes into play, and we just feel that I know I trust the Moors. I know that, and I trust our subjects also. I trust anyone who would have us issue a driver's license. I trust that everything will be what it should be. I do trust. I am going to start the process here, and then I'll bring back the results, and you'll see the results in any event, so that we can know how, with each step that we take, that we move in a way that is intelligent and competent and secure, So we have gotten the ancestors go ahead on issuing driver's license. We went back and forth for a while about it, but they are saying that now is the time because of all of the other things that we've done. Specifically the bonds, putting the bonds on the public record, and actually all of us are coming together and unanimously agreeing that those bonds should go on the public record. So I would like to take a vote on what is being stated here. If there be no other comments, questions, wisdom, etc., with regard to this driver's license piece.
Islam, Empress. This is
Islam.
What about 1 ounce silver coin?
Well, we may introduce that later, and I thought about that too. Thank you for asking that question. Initially, what we want to do is maintain the order of events. Again, we took dollarium first because that is our national currency. Now we want to do gold, and then we'll do silver at a later date when the time is right to do silver, to include silver in what we're doing. We're going to at some point take, copper as well. But right now, to begin with, and to maintain the natural order, we're desiring that one gold coin be the tribution to the Treasury for the driver's licenses. And we got Empress Ravana trained on driver's licenses yesterday, and the energy and the spirit that was sent through us by the ancestors was just profound, very profound. So we place that at your feet, and at this time, if there's no further questions or issues or suggestions, again, Justice Travis, yes, we will take silver at some point. We will take copper at some point. We're taking gold initially if this Congress agrees to gold. So let us put the vote on the public record. All in favor of one gold coin for the driver's licenses. If you would please state your appellation and your territory and your vote. All in favor or all not in favor, state your vote. I was going to say in favor first, and then those who are not in favor next.
Leon the Barber, Georgia Territory. Yeah.
Islam.
Islam.
Travis Bay, Michigan. Yeah.
Islam.
Islam. Islam. Tona Salvatore Bay, Queen Khalifa Territory. Yay.
Islam.
Stars Barbara, Georgia Territory. Yay.
Islam.
Islam.
Sharif Bay, North Carolina Territory. Yay.
Islam. And when you're stating your votes, if you would speak loud and clear, please. Thank you.
Aruba Bay, Tennessee
ahead.
Territory. Yay.
Islam. Angelica Yvette Dobbs Bay, New York Territory. Yay.
Islam.
Akil community.
Empress Sheila L., Indiana Territory. Yay.
Justice Akil, I believe you were also voting along with the Empress. Justice Akil, go ahead.
Akil community, Easley L. My vote is yay.
Islam.
Nathan I.L., Bruce Cherry Bay at New York Territory. Yay.
Islam.
Islam. Mr. Jubei, Memphis, Tennessee. Yay.
Islam.
Islam. Willie Irvin Smith Bay, Mississippi Territory. Yay.
Islam.
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 Morpheus Pascal Ham Freeman L., Maryland Territory. Yay.
Islam. And we see two in the chat. Malik Akil Bay affirmed, and Darius Bay Oz L affirmed. There were some empresses that were saying something, and I think your vote got, we could not hear your vote. There were two empresses, I believe, that were speaking.
Islam.
Islam, nobility.
Pharaoh Spike Eel from Virgin Land Territory. Yay.
Islam, Grand Rising. Empress Rosetta L affirms.
Islam.
Islam.
AG Nabi Chandra Bay Mahat L. Yay.
Islam.
Islam.
Anyone else? Islam. Islam. Are there any who are not in favor of what has been proposed? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Islam. Islam. Okay. Is there anyone else? Any other votes onto the public record? Oh, Light Tajiri Bay, Washington Territory, yay. Justice Dawood, yay.
Islam.
Islam.
I have a question.
Okay, can you hold it for just a moment? And let me just make sure that everyone has voted. Anyone else? Empress Nana says that she cannot hear. Empress Nana, do you want to go out and come back in? Because there may be. In to read your sound. We want to make sure that we get, because I'm thinking she wants to vote as well, or she desires to vote as well. Islam. And I'll unlock the meeting. We want to make sure, because we have sometimes more say, I was trying to vote and I couldn't. Islam. Are there any other votes? I just heard someone come back in. Any other votes?
Olango, Kairi LB, Kairi Territory, yay.
Islam. Thank you, Justice Onlango. Any other votes? We want to make sure we hear from all.
Islam.
Islam.
This is Noble Timothy Hassan Bey. I wanted to be sure that the vote that I put in was clear. It was. Thank you, Empress.
What was your vote, Justice Timothy?
Oh, nay. Yay.
Okay, Islam, we have it. Yes, indeed.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Islam. Anyone else? Anyone else? Islam. Okay. We do have a unanimous vote on one gold coin for the driver's license that we're going to be issuing, so that we can, it's in support of our Treasury. We are grateful for that vote. We are venturing to a part of our estate that we've been looking forward to getting to. And we know that our ancestors have cleared the way and made our way easy for us to do this, to overturn those tables so that our future generations are free economically. It's bigger than us. This is bigger than us, and I wasn't going to do too much pushing forward prior to the vote, but this is so much bigger than just us, because we've done so much already to lay the groundwork so that our way is easy as we go forth. That's the part that we've been looking for, is to get to this point where lawful and legal money is on the public record. And for that, we're so grateful. So there's a lot of other things that will come forth just because of this. We have actually made history, all of us. Your votes made history and herstory. Every nation has been looking forward to this nation doing this. And so, even though I was hesitant about administrative work because I have a lot of paperwork, but I said, we will do this. This we will do. Indeed. With that being stated and on the public record, I did do just some more looking up of the type of, of what we're doing, and the ancestors threw this one in our lap, just sat it in our lap. A bullion fund is a public money fund that enables the minting and distribution of coins. So a bullion fund is what we will call this portion of our treasury. Black's Law Dictionary says a bullion fund, and I didn't necessarily agree with all of this, but it says a bullion fund is a fund of public money maintained in connection with the mints for the purpose of purchasing precious metals for coinage, and also of enabling the mint to make returns of coins to private depositors of bullion without waiting until such bullion is actually coined. And I don't even know how that would, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense with what we're doing. But nonetheless, it is a definition that we are willing to restate. So my thing was, how do you purchase coinage? That was my question to the ancestors a while ago, is how are we to mint the gold and silver? Where do we get it from to mint it so that everybody can have gold money? They said you have to first have, according to the proper process, you first have a denomination for that, or a nomination for that. And that's what Moorish Sovereign Dollarium is. It's the foundation. Moorish Sovereign Dollarium is for those who look at monetary theory, Moorish Sovereign Dollarium is considered M1. M1. Then after that, there's M2, M3, M4, and so on.
Are you ever going to shut the fuck up tonight, Pauline? Just blah, 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 blah.
To monetary theory. M1 was when we were in our sleep, we enacted using fiat, and M1 was the money supply, quote unquote.
Quote unquote, blah, 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 over.
Okay. So for those who want to do a little research, look up modern monetary theory, M1. And this is, that's just some further study that we've done with regard to money and bullion, etc. Now, with regard to the driver's licenses, a copy of an old driver's license, it doesn't matter how old it is. Address, so we will need an address. And again, this is the in capitis diminutio minima and in capitis diminutio maxima for driver's licenses. the state that you domicile or reside at, or in, actually, if you're talking about in all caps or in capitis diminutio minima. A passport-style photo with a white background, and your signature will be in blue. With a white background. And then the state that you domicile or reside at, a passport-style photo with a white background. And then this, the ancient original indigenous people, a nationality identification, and a birth certificate. And now, the birth certificate you must create. Because guess what? Those last ones from that last era, if we hadn't stood, which we did, and our Grand Sheik mentioned this, that they were planning on reprinting up a whole new batch of birth certificates, quote unquote, and just restarting that fraud all over again. So in order to rebut that, we're stating that if the Moors will just go ahead and recreate, it's going to be an exercise for all of us. Because, listen, the mothers, the matriarchs who create birth certificates for their heirs so that their heirs can get a driver's license when they're ready, when it's time for them to get a driver's license, they will have rebutted all the fraud that took place, that was enacted in the last era. That means that that this next new generation of Moors will never have to have a fake birth certificate. Never have to have a fake birth certificate. My daughter, now she's 27 now, so she's mature. She's of majority. When she was born, her birth certificate that they issued to her on the military base was in all capital letters from start to finish. So they didn't even, but they showed one in the system. They showed one in the system that said she was white. But they didn't print that one out. They printed out the one that's in all capital letters and black ink. When she has her babies, they're only going to have a birth certificate that's created by our government and not by any fake, fraudulent corpse. That changes everything. That changes everything for the next generations. On into perpetuity, what we have done now changes everything. That's how big this is, and it's even bigger than that. It's even bigger than that. There's a question in the chat that says, should that be 1 troy ounce or just a regular ounce? It should be 1 troy ounce. If there is a regular ounce and that's all they have, well, no, it should be a troy ounce. 1 troy ounce, yeah. Because the troy ounces is what they would not accept in the last era. They had an ounce, not a troy ounce. So we say, and actually it should be 0.999. I think that's what the ones that I've seen. It would say 0.999 troy ounces. So that's like just under an ounce. Gold coin. Islam.
So my question is, when we, the states, like New York, have the capacity to make the the IDs and such. How would we tribute the gold coins to the Treasury?
So that is why I wanted to start it, not wanted. It was my desire to start it here first, because all of the security issues and everything should be uniform as we go. By the time that starts, you'll be able to just put it in a bank into the bank. By the time it starts for all the states, you'll be able to put it into the bank. Just like merchants used to have this, like my mom, she was a merchant, and she would have a big bag of coins and bills and bills, and she would just take that big bag to the merchant window at the bank and deposit it. We'll be able to do the same thing with our gold. We'll have that capability. We want to get it started here first, at this territory first, and then bring again. It's called a pilot program here. We would be piloting this here, and we'll work out all the kinks and I don't think there will be kinks and bugs, because I know our ancestors have cleared the way. We'll work out the logistics of each of the other states, of all the states doing it, because right now it's going to be issued as a federal driver's license, not a state one. It's a federal driver's license issued by the states. Okay, it's issued by the states. Justice Akil, did you have something? So, for example, I issued 2 driver's licenses. They're test pilot. One is to my heiress, because I wanted to show her how to do it. I issued one to her, or she issued one to herself. And then I issued one to one of the Moors here, because he's been without one since 2013 in terms of the foreigners, and they're moving. They're trying to move on him. But I didn't. He didn't give a gold coin, because that was before we agreed to this. He gave 150 in Delarium. But what we want to do with each one of the states, we want to introduce it to the states, like New York territory and Georgia territory and Florida. We want to introduce it in uniformity, or in unity, in oneness. So let us work out, and we'll be bringing forth to you what it looks like. Everything is going to be made available to this Congress, so that we can talk through each of the steps and how to do things, because we know that this is going to be a part of our nation building process. And then it's going to be awesome for us to have each of the states doing it, so that all we have to do is say, if you're at New York, you go to Justice Nate and Empress Angela and any other Moors that are at New York who will be doing that, Justice Dawood, whoever is there. I know Justice Dawood is at Florida territory at this point. But then those at Florida, whichever Moors are standing to do this work, we want to make sure that we work the kinks out here first, and then, because our Treasury is going to work the same way that the Treasury from the last era, that dead Treasury that we just looked at to see how it worked, it'll work that way. Anything that goes on the books of any of the banks is on the record of the Treasury. So whenever banks were doing things, whenever they put it in the system, because we're all going to have the same system. All of us are going to have the same system. And so with us all having the same system, to record the gold and coming in and the licenses going out, we want to do it in unity. We want to do it in unity so the states will be able to take it. And this is just, we're forward thinking, because that's forward thinking, Empress Angela, about how you all would that are at the states would put it into the Treasury. It's going to be by bank account and banking. It's going to be by banking.
Islam. This is Travis.
Islam.
I'm trying to think of this in my mind. In Michigan, what they have is a passport driver's license for those who leave here and go to Canaan land without having to have those documents. Mm-hmm. Being in this geographical location, mm-hmm. Is that something we need to be concerned about right now for those who borderline our other states, or just let that alone?
So here's the thing. The driver's license, thank you for that. The driver's license is for those who are doing commerce. If you're just traveling, then you have the right to travel. But if you're doing commerce, then that's what the driver's license is for. And those who are going from here to Canaan land, they would just need to show a driver's license. That's it. Our driver's licenses are federal. That's why I said they're federal. They're going to have United States, because if you notice when I showed mine has United States, and then it has Washington first, which is the state, which is the land, and then it has United States. So our driver's licenses are federal driver's license, so we can go anywhere with them to do commerce, including Canaan land, Mexico, Jamaica, anywhere, and do commerce with them. But see, again, that's because at the foundation of the driver's license process and all of that is the nation. Now, with regard to passports, there are Moors who are issuing passports, but I have yet to meet a Moor who's issuing passports and only accepting lawful money besides us. And we're not issuing passports yet, so we haven't gotten to that point. However, if you want to do overline, travel, a federal driver's license will get you there. The Real ID Act was in order to, quote unquote, nationalize the IDs. For example, here, when the corpses from the last era issued driver's license, they said subject to federal limits. Subject to federal limits. So they knew that the federal was not going to accept that as an ID. Okay. Someone in my clan has a Washington driver's license, a state of Washington, quote unquote, corpse driver's license from the last era. And it says subject to federal limits. So ours are not subject to federal limits because it's going to be a national driver's license issued by the state. It will say what state you're at, you domicile at, but it's issued by the federal government. So federal for us is Canaan land, Mexico, Jamaica, everywhere. Did that assist Justice Travis with that question about the passports? We're just gonna wait on the passport part and introduce this part first, and then we'll get to the passports shortly thereafter.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Right now, our national ID takes the place of that anyway. National ID is in the passport, driver's license, and other state IDs are in the absence of a national ID. So they're in the absence of. So any travel is done by national ID, no matter where you're going at Earth. A national ID will get you there. The driver's license is going to be a national driver's license too, because that's why they kept talking about all the borders are going to disappear, because those are not the right borders anyway. But if I want to do commerce and bring something, like if I bring a driver's license over to Oregon territory, my driver's license, because it's issued here, it's still a national driver's license, so I can do commerce interstate from an interstate perspective. But when you're talking about Canaan land, then my national ID comes out with my driver's license. And that will take the place of a passport. We don't necessarily have to have passports. It's just if we want to add more gold to our treasury, because that's the style of commerce that our commerce department, quote unquote, but it's really the commerce ministry wants to do, then sure. Right now, passports they're not necessary for us. Just because of Article 1508 on the U.S. Department of Justice website, which is really the United States Justice Ministry, stating that passports are in the absence of a national ID. Passport and driver's license and regular IDs are in the absence of a national ID. And again, that's why we said there are layers to this whole thing. Government as a non-corporate entity and a non-commercial entity, that's what national IDs are. National IDs are not commercial identification. They're not commercial because we're not a corporation when we govern and in our national proper status. That's why we didn't charge anything even for the IDs that we did do from here. We didn't charge for them. And that was before Delarium that we were doing IDs. We just said, hey, it's a wash. You're declaring who you are, because we know that we don't do commerce from a national perspective. We do it from our perspective in terms of the next layer down, the public and then the corporate, which is the lowest level. It's a low level, but when it's being done lawfully and legally, then that elevates and uplifts everybody. So it's not a low level when it's uplifted properly. Islam.
I'm reading the question that North put in the chat. Is it just one gold coin? Last session it was one gold coin or 2,000 more sovereign Delarium for driver's license, or did she miss something?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
She did miss something.
Okay, but for the point of not everybody may have in their possession gold or even silver because of the exchange at the point in time that is this fiat, for that gold or silver, and it's not necessarily Delarium. So that would put some people at an imposition to go and acquire fiat just to acquire a gold coin.
Nope. They can create their own driver's license. They don't have to do that.
Okay.
That's why we put it that. That's exactly why we made it that way. Because again, those who want to do commerce, you got to do commerce in gold and silver anyway, but you can do it in Delarium too, because we've already been doing it in Delarium. It's just that the two parties have to agree that Delarium is going to be like if I was when I do commerce, if someone has Delarium, I prefer that over anything else. Okay. For those who don't have a gold coin, we knew that would be an issue, or some don't want to use fiat to get it. I'm one of those ones who didn't want to use fiat to get a gold coin.
Same here.
So the ancestor said, just hold on a minute. Just hold on a minute. and keep doing what you're doing, and the way will be made. So now, those who want to get a driver's license, we told you that before we said anything about this. We showed how to do that. We didn't tell you, we showed how to do it. I'm correcting my language so that I make sure that I say the right words when speaking to the ancient honorable sovereigns. So we showed everyone how to do the driver's license for themselves, because we were determined to do our own driver's license, because we knew that nobody else can tell us this is our land. Why would we take an instrument from someone else like that and then have them attempting to govern us? So we know there are many other things that come with this particular part of the estate, and we'll just take it step by step and walk through it. But what we do know is that even if you don't have it, you can still have the driver's license, because you are the government. You have the authority. What is the motivation for someone to send a gold coin for a driver's license? If they want to assist with the Treasury piece. And that's what we're going to go with in terms of expressing that this driver's license piece is we're building up our treasury with gold. It's already built up where more sovereign dolarium is concerned and where securities are concerned. We want to get the gold part in there also. And then once we build that up, we'll say, okay, now we're doing silver. We want to build our treasury up with silver. And then after that, we're saying, okay, now let's do copper. We want to build our treasury up where copper is concerned. So we're just taking it a step by step, the way our ancestors are inspiring it to us, to do things. First and foremost, they wanted us to make it so that everybody had access to everything. And with dolarium, everyone has access to it. Everyone, and we accept it. It's ours to accept. And it's by the authority of the people. So that is exciting to me, And so, again, Justice North, with regard to the dolarium, 1 gold coin or 2,000 and more sovereign dolarium for the driver's license, we've taken the dolarium piece off because we looked at our treasury and we have enough dolarium in the treasury right now. We have enough dolarium in the treasury. Empress Doris, did you want to make to state something, or did you have some wisdom or a question? Okay. We have lots of dolarium in there. We've received a lot in from the heirs in terms of investment packets and things. That's a part of our treasury. We have liens and levies on the public record as part of our treasury. So we have securities. We just issued a major $666 trillion security called the bonds, the bid bond, payment bond, and action bond. So now we're saying, okay, we want to do, so we filled our treasury with those things. Now we want to fill our treasury with gold. Islam.
I was just thinking, because of my studies and me studying the liens and having an understanding of the lien and creating currency. Mm-hmm. When I lien, say a business that sells gold or silver, mm-hmm. and I want to issue my dolarium, I would use the laws that we already stated to actually make an exchange with my dolarium for my dolarium gold certificate or silver certificate, or the exchange with these jewelry stores that's already here on our land for that, and then I would take that to a metal shop and have it melted down to what I want, to the weight that is needed, like 999, and have it and have it what you call it? I can actually mint my own things because as you state and as we state, we are the Treasury, so we can actually create our own gold and silver by doing the process of leaning these. This is just an idea. Leaning these jewelry stores that's already here that have gold and silver in them and exchanging the currency for them, and using the law stating that you can't use fiat here on the land anyway because we are living now and we are here and you already have it here, so let's exchange this and do business. I mean, it's just a suggestion or idea for other moves.
So here's my thoughts on that. My thoughts, they're just thoughts. Instead of, because see, it's our unity that has gotten us to where we are right now, where we're talking about taking in gold into our treasury. Now, we know all gold already belongs to us. It's the will of the people to come together and unify that makes it so that everything that we say, everything that we state is honored. Do we want everyone to use Dolarium to print their own gold coins? Not really. And I'll tell you, and again, these are just thoughts. This is not these are thoughts. We want to continue to stay together. See, the will to want to jump out there in front is there because we're all sovereign. We get it. Let's agree on who goes on our currency together, like we did with Dolarium. Let's agree which coins we're going to put out and what, where, and why, and all of that. So we'll say this. If you can do that, do it. We know that the ancestors, because we can't tell sovereigns what to do. We can't. Our suggestion is that we stay together with the processes. That we stay together. And that when we decide to mint the coins, that we choose what we want to be, what or who we want on the coins, because that's where the honor comes in at, is us being together and agreeing instead of one of us just going out there and then you got coins over here, then you got coins over there. Again, if you can do that, do it. If you can go to some place and they give you gold for more sovereign Dolarium, and then you go and mint your own coinage, then do that if you choose to do it, because we can't stop you.
Yes, Islam. Basically, I stated that so if people that are here in the territory of New York, if they would like to join up with me and let's put something together, let's work together like how you stated. If we all work together, we do a thing together, then introduce it back to the Congress to show the proof of our work, of what we're doing to introduce everything back into the bank, de jurely and sovereignly. But also a lot of these people here, they're actually looking for the law, but nobody has actually came up with a full plan yet. So I'm putting out the call and the suggestion now today for those who are in New York territory to contact us if you want to talk more about this conversation, have a deeper conversation on this.
So, up to now, what have you done along those lines? Up to now, where you've gathered people together to do things, just give that some thought. That's a rhetorical question, because it's easy to get people involved when you're talking about certain things, but they won't stay. They won't stay unless they see something in it for them. And again, all we can do is make suggestions. Anything that you want to do at New York, because now you're talking New York. Okay, Anything that you want to do at New York, you can do it. We've been moving as a unit together in unity this whole time, voting on things. We've been doing it for years. And again, we won't start today trying to tell sovereigns what to do. We're never going to tell you what to do. If you want to do that, feel free to do it. That's something that you can do whenever you feel led to do it. If you feel led by the Spirit to do it, we will what can we say except we affirm what the Spirit says. We also can look back at what we've been doing together, all of us, and knowing that everything that we've done thus far, we've done it together. We stayed together and done it together. So those are my thoughts on that. Is that yes, you want to put a call out or you desire to put a call out to people to come together for New York. We can't tell you no. If that's what you want to do, please do so. Like I said, even any demonstrations that you want to do them. Any demonstrations that you want to do them. That's my thought. Islam.
This is an interesting discussion because I had purchased I think you could call it like a kiln, but it's
yes.
Because you can get it online. Because maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was checking out because I have some silver, and I'm like, okay, I need to melt them down, but I would like to melt it down in coins or silver coins. Even though I'd been ordering some silver coins from a company, I'm like, well, instead of me just ordering them, I could make them myself, But I have only gotten as far as having the kiln, having them here, having the silver, but I have yet to move forward with actually putting them into coins. So it's an interesting discussion because then, you're talking about unification, and moving it as a unit, and so I said, well, I guess maybe that's why the Spirit hasn't really bolstered me, because even last week I picked up the kiln and moved it,
We know how the ancestors work, Empress, and that is exactly how they work. They'll let us get all the way up to this point, and they'll be like, "Okay, wait a minute, don't leave, nobody, everybody come together," So that's why we don't tell sovereigns what to do, because we already know the ancestors are going to do what they do. They're going to keep us together, and they're going to bliss our unity like they've been doing. They're going to do that. We know that. So,
true. And it's not expensive to get one of those kilns. The last time it was like $4 something. So
yeah, I looked at them too, and the ancestors did not move on me to do that. So I'm like, okay, I won't do it until you say, okay, do it. But I know that they have something bigger than just me sitting here in front of a hot stove making coin. It's about the whole earth. It's about the whole earth. But we have to come together first. And they will do what we do, like they always have. All we have to do is come together and agree. And it will be done immediately. It's already done. We just have to come forth and state it. I know that about our ancestors. I've been watching them, and they've been watching me, and we've been looking in the mirror at each other. That's how they operate. They will let things happen, and they'll let us get to a point, and then they'll say, okay, now let us show you something else about this. Islam just as much.
Yes. Wow. Like my spirit led me to say this tonight. So, because I know this is probably on a lot of our minds because, as we grow in our understanding and understanding of things, and we know how to secure our stuff properly, plus we know how to read, we can easily come together and figure it out together. That's what it's all about, having unity and coming and agreeing on something. Yeah. We know that it won't just benefit me personally, but it'll benefit the whole entire nation and those our ancestors that's across the seas. Like, what I'm talking about is coming together as a nation and building a strong coin where we all can stand behind. Well, no, not stand behind, but be the power of it and secure it properly, and then bring it back to Congress and to our stand in Congress and demonstrate it, competently.
Do what you will. Do what you will. We're going to continue putting things before you on the public record, letting things be, and continue voting on things and doing things the way we've been doing them, and, so, yeah, do what you will. Islam? Do what you will.
Yes.
The earth is yours.
Yeah, I have many ideas. I would love to share with some of our kinfolk out here that just want to have a conversation about this. I have many ideas. The ancestors is flowing through my bloodline right now, and telling me things that needs to be done, get done. I mean, that's just one idea. Imagine how many other ideas is ready to go. Because obviously the ancestors is giving me this because it see that we are ready for it. So whoever's ready for it, let's have a conversation. Islam and Grand Rising.
Islam. We would say this too about all of that is that we demonstrate at the level of our understanding. That, like we've always stated, we have to do it too. We have to demonstrate at the level of our understanding. And, do as you will, and the ancestors will do what they do best, which is bliss all that we do. Indeed. So with that being stated, we know as we move into this other piece that we're moving into, that the ancestors know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And we trust them 100%. 100%. So any Moors who are doing any demonstrations, if you're led to do the demonstration, do it. Do it. Do it. That's what we do. We demonstrate who we are, and at all times. At all times. In all matters. That includes, it's not, we're not just demonstrating with driver's licenses, we're demonstrating here at the territory. We're doing it with everything. So we're all doing that. I know we're all doing that. I can feel it in my spirit that we're all on the same page. So with that being stated, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom from this great, grand, amazing, intelligent Congress? Anyone? Any other questions, comments, etc.? Islam. Thank you for a unanimous vote. Thank you for the unity that comes with our vote. We didn't hear from some with regard to the vote tonight. And I know that your spirit, I know some of it is technology and some of it is other things. Islam Empress.
I had to leave
the meeting, and so I don't even know what the vote's about. But I'm going to listen to the video again, and I will leave my vote there.
Islam. Thank you, and that's what I was about to say. I know that normally we have a unanimous vote about things. Thank you, Empress Cynthia, about that. I was just about to say some we did not hear from based on the number of votes that we got, but we know why. It's because of that very thing. You just affirmed what I was about to say. So please do leave your votes there. And with that being stated, I have nothing further for today. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Someone put something in the chat saying I am in favor to unite on moving forward with our coins. Again, what we voted on tonight was what's on the screen, which is that we're going to accept one gold coin for the Moorish, not the Moorish, but the United States federal driver's license that we're going to be issuing. And again, the driver's license looks just like the one that I have, and I've shown you that driver's license. Go ahead, Empress.
I do affirm, because I've been here for most of the meeting. I affirm.
Thank you, Empress. Thank you so much. Your vote is highly favored in terms of we desire your vote. Islam. This is what the driver's licenses look like for the most part. There's been a couple of additions and changes that we made to them here at the consulate in terms of, where the information is. But this is the basic driver's license and what it's going to look like. Here, where it says Original Indigenous American, if there is a subject who has a subject affidavit, it won't say that. It will say whatever we all. It may not say anything. I don't think. Yeah, it won't say anything there. But if there's nationality documents, a nationality, our nationality affidavits on Moorish government letterhead, then it will state that, along with a birth certificate that we create. We're just going further in to what our ancestors put in front of us in terms of our systems. And when I say in front of us, I mean subject to us. So this is the basic gist of the driver's licenses and what they'll look like. And again, those Moors because all Moors have the authority. Thank you, Empress Abina. Those Moors have the authority to create their own, so there will be no Moors who are without, none of the sovereigns will be without a driver's license. But we do not, but there's a period there. Now let me start a new sentence. We do want to build up our treasury in terms of the gold coins. Our treasury is already built up with regard to Moorish sovereign dollarium. We have lots of those in there, many gold receipts from the heirs that we've received over time. We have many securities in our treasury, liens, levies, bonds, okay? And now we're saying, okay, we have those two. We did a great job on that. Let me congratulate all Moors. Our treasury is just amazingly wealthy in terms of the instruments that we have. And now we're just adding another instrument, another layer to the treasury with driver's licenses and the gold coins. So for one gold coin, you'll get a Moorish driver's license. I mean, not a Moorish driver's license, but a federal driver's license. The federal driver's license allows you to go anywhere on the land. And then it will have the state that you domicile at. For example, this has Washington on it. Not state of Washington, it has Washington. Whereas when I looked at the driver's licenses that the corpses were issuing previously, they know for sure already who they are, and they abbreviated just about everything on there. The last iteration that they enacted, they had so many abbreviations on there. I was like, this is foreign. So, yeah. With that being stated, Islam.
I just want to let the Moors know the weight of a troy ounce is 31.89 grams.
Okay. That's
okay.
Good.
Just so they know, it's 31.89 grams.
Yes.
Islam.
Thank you for that. No. So, that's good to know. Very good to know. With that being stated, I will say this too. To support our Treasury, instead of flakes, because I thought about even flakes of gold too, because I know some people have gold in the flake, piece, but I think the coin would be proper for now. And since we voted on the coin, because we're still looking again at the law, and we're looking at the Coinage Act of 1792, which we restated about 2 years ago, the Coinage Act. We restated it as the Coinage Law for 1792. So, with that being stated, if there be nothing further from this amazing Congress, may your way be easy. May all that your hand touch turns to gold. May your heirs forever state your appellation as those who made history. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising, Morris.
Thank you, Morris. Grand rising. Islam.
Hello, grand rising, Morris.
Not gonna work.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising to all the Moors.
Islam.
Islam. That's beautiful. Yes, it is.